Welcome along to Special Stage 5, where we're going to be previewing Rally Launceston and speaking to Lewis Bates a little bit later on. I've got Peter Whitten with me here. We're going to be chatting all things Rally Launceston. How are you today?
I'm going really well, thanks, Luke. And yeah, looking forward to this weekend's season opener.
It's going to be a really exciting opening round. I guess the first round of the year is always exciting, and there's always trepidation and there's predictions that are going to come for the opening round. And one of the important things is that everybody gets through cleanly, of course, but Tasmania, nobody's been there at this time of year, which is really, really exciting.
It is exciting, yeah. And look, the event in Tassie in the last couple of years has been wet, wet, wet. Lots of rain and muddy roads and conditions, but um, hopefully the conditions this weekend are a bit better than they have been in the June date of previous couple of years, and the crews can have a nice clean run.
And before we get too far into the Rally Launceston preview, we've got to say a big thank you to Max Cases for coming along and supporting the podcast. Visit their website at maxcase.com.au. Peter, they've got some great products, which includes hard cases for carrying tools around service parks and photographers carrying around all their camera gear and lenses and stuff like that, which is really, really suitable for the sport of rallying.
Yeah, it is great, Luke, and yeah, a big thanks to Max Cases for getting on board with us, and to Sam Hill, who was importing them from Italy. They are a really really good product, and I've already seen them out and being used in the service park, and I'm sure we'll see more of them moving forward.
That's right. We'll have a product review coming soon on our website, which we look forward to writing once we've got a good grip of the product and how beneficial it can be. So yeah, jump across to their website. Again, that's maxcase.com.au. Hopefully you can find one that suits your needs. Across the world of rallying, there's lots of things that always happen. Rally Mexico was last weekend. We're going to focus mostly on Rally Launceston in this episode, but very briefly, Peter, what were your thoughts on that event?
Well, once again, Luke, it was a Sebastian Ogier masterclass, wasn't it? And what was it? His seventh win, I think, in Mexico, which is just incredible. I think he did benefit on the first day from road position a little bit, but there's no denying that he was by far the quickest guy out there. And yeah, I think Ogier was just a cut above everybody.
He was, and it's funny that he's leading the championship at the minute, which is quite remarkable given he missed Sweden. So he's there, always reminding everybody that he's still the number one, really.
Yeah, it was good to see some great pace from Esa-Pekka Lappi on the opening day. Obviously, he led after the opening day, but unfortunately crashed out on the first stage of day two. But it just goes to show that Hyundai have made some huge steps with that car. Early this time last season, everybody was having trouble with the Hyundai. They worked really hard over last year, and Lappi, probably unlike Tanak and unlike just about anybody else, has really gelled with that car quickly. So it's good to see, and I think with Lappy having a full season behind the wheel this year, we can expect some big things from him.
That's right. It's an interesting thing you say about gelling with the Hyundai because Esa has been able to do it. Craig Breen has always been able to do it. So those three drivers, the two I just mentioned, and also Thierry Neuville, they're all pretty comfortable in the car. So maybe Hyundai have got that mix pretty much spot on.
Yeah, I think the one disappointment for Hyundai at the moment is Danny Sordo, who really hasn't shown the pace in the last few events that we know that he's capable of. Maybe he's having some setup issues with the car, but again, if you look at M Sport as well, while Toyota were dominant, M Sport had a shocking event. Tanak won, I think, three or four stages, which were all super specials, but he had a turbo issue on the first stage of the opening day, which basically cost him any chance of a good result. He ended up picking second on the power stage, which was some handy points for him. But Pierre Louis Loubet twice damaged the suspension on his car, and Jordan Sertorides, who's obviously just a privateer, he had a big crash on the first day and was again nowhere near the pace.
Now moving forward to Rally Launceston, which is very, very exciting for this weekend. The season launch happened last night. We're recording this on Thursday morning, and the season launch was live on Facebook last night. Some livery reveals for the Rulos and Troy Dow, but it was a great, great show last night. I watched it on Facebook, and yeah, really enjoyed the coverage that the ARC put together and some cool new colours to show off.
Yeah, those Rulo Hyundais look really cool. I reckon it's going to be great to see those out there, and obviously Troy Dowell, who's running the same colour scheme as Harry Bates did at at Rally New Zealand last year with support from Petters. So once again, great to see the Petters name on a rally car at the top end of the field.
Yeah, and one of the things that was mentioned that really piqued my interest was that Alex Rouleau mentioned that a couple of things didn't come with the two Hyundais. So his father Peter had to jet across to Germany to get those parts and bring them back in time for Rally Launceston, which just shows their commitment to the championship. And it's great to see those two cars. As you might have read on Rally Sport magazine, we won't be in Launceston for the event. A couple of things have come up for us that means that we're unable to go there. It's a tough first couple of rounds in Launceston and in Western Australia. The budget for competitors is a thing, and it's as well a thing for us with being able to get there. And I guess one thing, Peter, that we've chatted about off air is just starting the championship with Launceston and Western Australia. They're two long haul events, you could say, and whether it is a good thing, is a bad thing. I know we've sort of prepared a first couple of rounds as to where we might think the championship would be best starting. But what do you think about the events in rounds 1 and 2 being in Tasmania and across in Western Australia?
It's a really difficult situation that the championship finds itself in, I think, Luke, because ideally you would start the Australian Championship on the East Coast at one of the East Coast events, but clearly there's some issues there regarding calendars and where events fit in and where the weather is best for those types of events. And I think one of the problems with not having Western Australia or Tasmania early in the season is that if a competitor starts the championship and has a bad run, then they're obviously one of the two events or both the events that they won't go to. So if those events are later in the season, they're probably less likely to get the mainland competitors across to them. So it is a difficult one, but yeah, I think Tasmania will be fantastic this weekend. The roads down there this time of year are going to be incredible, fast and smooth. I would imagine, and I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, we're not knocking the entry, of course, of Launceston, which is outstanding. I've got the top 15 list in front of me here. I've got the entry list up, and it's full of R5s and AP4 cars. So the entry is great. And for this first round, at least, it's worked really well to have one of those long haul events right at the start.
Absolutely, yeah. And the guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing the stage times this weekend is Troy Dow. He obviously last year drove the Hyundai i20 G4 car. This year he's in the Skoda that Harry drove in Rally New Zealand last year, and from all reports, testing went really well, and they were quite amazed at how quick that car was. So I think given Troy had a good result in Tasmania last year, this year with the R5 or the Rally 2 Skoda under his bum, I think he's going to be really, really fast, and I think we'll see some quite amazing times from him.
Pre-season test day that was held near Canberra recently said that he was very, very fast. So guys like Lewis Bates, Harry Bates, Nathan Quinn, who are ahead of him, they might be looking over their shoulder this year with a better car for Troy Dow. We mentioned Lewis. He spoke to us in the interview, which is coming up a little bit later in the podcast, about how there's just so many people who could be on the podium. He said 10 to 12 people could be on the podium this weekend. And it just shows the depth that's really coming through to the ARC through these past couple of seasons, which I think is great.
It sure is, and there's quite a few unknowns as well. Obviously, the two Rouleau Hyundais, we don't know what the speed of those guys are going to be. It's their first event in the car, so clearly they're going to take some time to settle into them. Guys like Luke Anir, he's driving a Skoda for the first time. That'll be a bit of an unknown, as will Tom Clark, who's coming back in his Fiesta R5 after having a big crash at Rally Launceston last year. Tom's done some events since that time in his Datsun Stanza, but it'll be a big learning curve again for him, I'd imagine. But yeah, looking through the entry list, I mean, it would be unlikely that the Bates boys aren't going to be up in the top three. Nathan Quinn is going to be fast again in his G4 car, provided it can be reliable for the whole weekend. And as I mentioned, young Troy Dowell is going to be super quick.
Yeah, Tom Clark's coming back from that accident in Tasmania, but there's also two others that are coming back from big accidents. Clearly, Tom's accident was huge last year in Tasmania. And then Luke Anir is driving in his first event since crashing his Ford Fiesta at the Coffs Coast Rally. Harry Bates is also doing his first event since his big crash. So it'll be interesting how those three get back onto the stage and how they do drive, because for Tom Clark and for Luke Anir, maybe it's going to be a bit of a slower process than someone like Harry, who who's always sort of had that speed near the top. But yeah, coming back from a crash is not something that people have too much success with sometimes.
No, and certainly not given the fact that what are we 5 months since the Coast Rally now when they had their big accidents. So it is a long time. It's not as though they've been able to get back on the horse the following month and then go and do a rally. So Tom Clark may not have too many issues given that he did the Alpine Rally last year and did plenty of Ks down there. But Luke Anir hasn't done a rally since, so it may take Luke a bit longer. But everyone's different, and some guys will easily get back up to their former speed, whereas others will take a bit more time to ease into it.
And going over the support categories is an interesting one because there's no juniors at this round. As we know, there's 4 rounds that count for those junior drivers, the two-wheel drive cup drivers, and also the production cup crews. So it's maybe a ploy from the championship in terms of the calendar that these two long haul events are done and out of the way for those. Maybe it's working that way for them. But for two-wheel drive, we've got Scott Petter this weekend, we've got Ben Hayes, and we've also got Aidan Peterson in that charade, which he'll be hoping he gets through in one piece. Production Cup wise, Bodie Reading, Stephen Maguire in the Mitsubishi, and his brother Eddie in a late call up to drive the Subaru. So it's going to be good to follow those ones. The depth isn't quite there as what it was last year, but as we sort of mentioned earlier, it's a long haul event. So yeah, strategies are different in terms of how people in those cups are building their championship runs.
Yeah, and clearly for the juniors we've lost Ryan Williams this year, who's also competing this weekend, but in the first round of the Queensland Championship in his new Subaru. And in the Production Cup, we've lost Taylor Gill, who's obviously in Finland at the moment, living, preparing for his big season. Max McRae's about to head over there to do a European Championship campaign, and obviously we tragically lost Ronnie Bustard earlier this year through a tragic passing of him. So the Production Cup field is looking a lot different to what it was last year. But yeah, let's see how it pans out and how many of these guys are going to do more than one event.
That's right. They might get a nice early lead in the championship and think we might be able to get to a couple of these East Coast rounds. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Now it's the first time that Tasmania has hosted a round at the start of the season since 2010. And not only is it the first time, I guess, in 13 years, but it's even longer since it's been a gravel round. During that time in, I believe, 2009, 2010, it was a tarmac round. What are your
Yep.
memories of that one, Peter? I think it was sort of in the northern parts of Tasmania as well.
Yeah, it was based in Burnie, so it was an interesting event, and I think from memory it was the first time that the ARC had run a tarmac event, and unfortunately it didn't last more than a couple of years. But I remember at the time they ran a couple of super special stages, and I was involved in some media setup down there, but also running a couple of stages as well when a mate of mine, Scott Spedding, was the director of the Clark course. So it was interesting times. I remember Brendan Reeves was competing in his Subaru down there on the tarmac, and obviously the Toyotas were going pretty well. But yeah, we're back on the gravel this time, and yeah, it should be good fun.
Scott Petter and John Mortimer won that 2010 round. And yeah, funny how things turn around. Obviously, and Scott's back again on the gravel this time, opening the championship. And yeah, by his comments and stuff that we've heard, he's really excited to be back there, which is another awesome thing.
Yeah, and the Renault, I think down there is going to be super fast as well. So Scott has proven time and again that he's fast in that car, and as he said, he's got an unusual love affair with it. So it'll be good to see him back behind the wheel of it.
I think in terms of rallying and rally cars, it's not an unusual love because I know a few people who have a love for a certain car. And yeah, I think it's not really uncommon, perhaps.
No, you're probably right there.
All right, we're going to get into our tips for the weekend. Who do you think is going to win the event, Peter?
I reckon it's difficult to go past Harry Bates. He and Coral Taylor, who obviously is co-driving for him this year, they had a run down there last year and were clearly the quickest and won quite convincingly. I think that'll be the case again. Second, third, fourth. I mean, it's a bit of a toss-up, really. I mean, Lewis Bates being the champion is going to be super fast, as is Nathan Quinn, as is Troy Dowell. You could probably throw a blanket over the three of them.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'd put Harry at the front, but then it's really a toss of a coin, like you say, depending on how quickly a guy like Tom Clark can get to grips with his car again. And yeah, Nathan Quinn's always going to be super fast. as is Lewis Bates, who's just gaining in confidence. So, do you have anything more
Yeah,
to
for
add on
sure.
the event and things like that, Peter? Any other news that might have popped up throughout the last fortnight?
No, I think that better covers it, Luke. As I said before, the Queensland Championship is starting this weekend, so it's going to be a good battle up there by a number of Subarus and Mitsubishis. Glenn Brinkman is heading the field in his car in his Mitsubishi. Ryan Williams is going to be quick. Jamie Neal from New South Wales has gone up and having a run in the Queensland Championship. So there's lots of rallying going on around the place, and it'll be like you and like everybody else. We'll be watching the timesheets pretty closely this weekend.
Definitely. All right. Well, we'll get into Lewis Bates's interview. Just got to apologise for a couple of things in his interview. We lost him internet wise a couple of times there, so there's a few pauses and stuff, which is an internet based issue. So we apologise for that. In our chat just now, Peter, I believe there was a couple as well. So we apologise for that lower audio quality than what we're used to. But yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy the Lewis Bates interview. And until next fortnight, we look forward to following along and keep jumping onto rallysportmag.com for all your news and features and stuff as we, I guess, look back on Rally Launceston next week.
Thanks, Luke. And before we go, I'd just like to dedicate this episode of Special Stage to a great mate of ours, Josh Dowell, who passed away last weekend. Josh was 22, a great rally fan. He was a motorsport competitor himself. He was competing in the Thunder Sports series in a Ford Falcon AU and was doing good things. And he was on the up and he was going to be a driver of the future. So we miss you, Josh. And yeah, look forward to catching up again on the other side.
Absolutely. We enjoyed having you at our events when we were competing. So enjoy the chat with Lewis Bates and we'll speak to you next fortnight. Welcome along, Lewis. It's great to have you with us. How are things as we look ahead to Rally Launceston?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Luke. It's exciting to have round one just around the corner. It's been a busy off season for us, so yeah, I'm really excited to get back into rallying, and it's looking like it's going to be a really exciting round one in Launceston.
That's great to hear. Yeah, it sure is looking very, very exciting. As you say, things are just about to get rolling on another ARC season. The brand that you work for, Toyota, they're doing great things all over the globe. You're winning ARC titles for them. They're also winning WRC titles, and they're looking like they're going to win another WRC title the way it's going. Did you catch much of Rally Mexico this past weekend?
Yeah, for sure. I watched bits and pieces. The time difference made it difficult, especially when I've got a rally this weekend. I didn't want to be up all night watching Rally Mexico, so I didn't watch it live as much as I would have liked to. But I definitely watched all the highlights and replays. So yeah, it was a tough event by the looks of it. It was very challenging for I think all the teams and the drivers. I don't think it would have been easy going to such a tough, rough, high altitude event in like as in first in the hybrid era. So yeah, I think it from the outside it looked extremely tough and difficult, and yeah, it was amazing to see Ogier win his seventh Rally Mexico, which is just an amazing stat. And yeah, credit to him. He's not in the car as much as the other guys at the moment, but he's still able to turn up and yeah, really dominate. He never really looked like probably losing, in my opinion. I mean, Lappy was ahead of him until he crashed, but I think Ogier probably had his measure. If you look back at the weekend, I think Ogier was doing what he had to do. Obviously, he had an extremely good road position, which helps. But at the end of the day, he's yeah an amazing driver and very worthy.
Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable performance. And outside Esapeka Laffy's speed and the misfortune of Oit Tanak, I don't really think there was too many surprises for me. Did you see it in a similar way?
No, I agree. Yeah, I don't think there were too many surprises. It would seem Elvin Evans did well to get on the podium in third, but I think a lot of us would probably still be expecting that little bit more from him.
Mhm.
He just hasn't shown the pace that he truly has recently. So not really sure why that is because, if you look back at, I think it was 2020 when he
Mm.
was so close to winning the championship and crashed at the final round. He just, yeah, hasn't really had the pace since then. So, yeah, I guess it's no surprise that he I guess, wasn't able to challenge Ogier. But yeah, I think a podium isn't a bad result for him, and hopefully he can get his confidence back up to keep going and push on and start challenging for rally wins again.
Definitely. And those four guys that are the key championship players are all still nice and close together, which is really good. Your important proceedings this weekend are obviously Rally Launceston. You head there and into the season with the number one on your door. Congratulations, first of all, for the 2022 title. Have you reflected on the year and just how special it is to have that crown?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very exciting going into round one with the number one on our door for Anthony and myself. We had a brief discussion about it on the weekend when the seeded entry list came out. We were at the top, which is definitely a nice feeling. And reflecting back on last year, obviously the second half of the year to be the 2022 champs, and it's something that we'll now carry with us for the rest of our lives. And I think it also gives me motivation going into this season to to keep challenging and try and do it all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Your whiteboard markings on the workshop wall in Canberra are now well known. You've completed that goal you wrote of being Australian champion. Was that something that ever left you as you pursued, I guess, other things growing up?
Yeah, definitely. I wrote that when I was only 6 years old. So yeah, a lot happened between then and now. And I guess I was right into my soccer growing up. So motorsport was always still a big part of my life. But yeah, I guess I was less focused on motorsport and more focused on soccer for a good part of my life until I turned about 17, 18. So yeah, definitely. I probably thought that goal had gone in a different direction when I
Mhm.
was, training for soccer 5 days a week and playing several games on weekends. And then, yeah, at some point when I started doing more hill climbs and I actually did my first gravel rally sprint with Dad co-driving down at the Sydney Dragway. I think when I was only just turned 17 was when I really started to sort of think about, oh, maybe I actually want to do rallying and not play soccer anymore. And then I did my first proper rally with Harry co-driving down at Narooma, and then that was
Mhm.
it for me. I was hooked. So I stopped soccer pretty soon after that, and yeah, rallying took up pretty much my whole life. So yeah, from basically when I started doing my first rally, I wanted to, keep stepping up and keep getting into faster cars and sort of work my way up and see what we could do. And then at some point, I guess my goal changed back to winning the Australian Rally Championship, and that's what Anthony and I focused on doing.
Speak a little bit about that life growing up in the soccer sort of thing. Getting to know a bit more about you here. You're obviously very, very talented. Can you expand a bit? I guess who did you play for? And like you say, it got pretty serious.
Yeah, it definitely got pretty serious. It took up a huge part of my life. I played in the ACT rep team. I even went to America when I was 17. Oh, I just turned 18 actually, so
Mhm.
it was just before I stopped with the ACT rep team, and we played teams like the LA Galaxy youth team, which we actually beat them. We had a pretty strong side in the ACT, and then we played like the Seattle Sounders youth team, and basically a few top colleges in America as well. So it was a very cool trip. It was sort of my final year of soccer before I
Mhm.
decided that that was it. But in Canberra, I was playing first grade when I was only 16 years old, getting paid to start matches. So that was pretty cool as a 16-year-old. And obviously, when you're doing that, you don't have a lot of time for other things. So that's probably, I wouldn't say I wasn't interested in motorsport because I was still madly following when Dad was still rallying and Harry had
Mhm.
started. So I was still madly following, coming to rallies when I could. It's just that, until I was basically 18, my main focus was soccer. So, yeah, it was definitely, when I look back at it, it was definitely an amazing experience. And yeah, I wouldn't take back anything that I did. But yeah, definitely my focus now is all about motorsport and rallying. It literally takes up my whole life. And I think I could transition a lot of things from soccer to rallying, just the mental side of competing at a high level in sport. And yeah, I guess the mental side of things in rallying is massive. It's obviously such a challenge in sport. And yeah, so, but not for soccer anymore.
You come across to me like someone who could be a bit of a general on the field, perhaps maybe man centre back or something like that. What position did you play, and what position would you have played for Socceroos had that dream come true?
It's funny. I actually changed positions a little bit. From so when I started playing, I was centre midfield, and then when I was about 12 years old, when we started, that was the first time I started actually playing rep
Mhm.
soccer. So the coach thought I would make a good right back because I ran a lot. I had really good fitness. So he put me right back, and it was sort of like a wing back. So we are swapping positions with the right midfield and doing the overlap sort of thing. And then when I turned 16, I was still playing rep, and then the coach thought I'd make a good centre midfield. So I went back to where I started playing soccer. But my ultimate position was centre midfield. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I love the running part, having the ball at my feet, and I feel like the centre mids probably touch the ball the most throughout the game, and ultimately they can change the game very quickly by putting good through balls and that sort of thing. I love setting goals up, and so yeah, if I had a choice to play any position, it would be centre midfield.
Fantastic. A lot of great experiences that you've been able to transfer, obviously. Rallying wise, it was a pre-event test a couple of weeks ago that we were at, and it was a good successful test for you. How was it being back in the car after, I guess, what was it, 2 or 3 months out of the car?
Yeah, it was a long time out of the car, too long if you ask any of us drivers. But that's how it is sometimes. We had extremely busy off season building the Luff's Yaris and then also repairing Harry's Yaris. So that's just how it was. But it was very nice to be back in the car for a pre-season test in Cowan Forest ahead of Rally Launceston. So Anthony and I didn't do too many kilometres because the road was actually cut up and got quite rough. So I was more managing the car than anything. I would have loved to do more runs, but I felt comfortable straight away. So that was the main reason for only doing about 30 kilometres. But no, the car felt exactly how it did when we finished Coffs Harbour, which is always nice. And yeah, really looking forward to this weekend.
Like you say, the test on the Thursday before the rally is always going to be a better marker for events like Launceston. I guess it's been on the calendar in Launceston on 3 occasions, and you've done all three. There's only one new stage from last year, so it's really basically the same rally. It puts you in good stead to be at the front right away. Do you want to go into that first stage and set a really good time, or do you want to bed yourself in? I guess what's the approach for you and Anthony?
Yeah, as you said, we've done this rally 3 times now. So I think it's definitely gives you confidence going into it that we've got most of the pace notes from previous years. We'll have to write bits and pieces here and there for some stages, but yeah, definitely, I think it's a small advantage having notes and having been down that way a few times and knowing the area. Definitely, I think it'll be a little different at this time of cold and quite wet. So I think from a forecast nice and dry. And I think the first pass will be quite difficult with road sweeping because there's a lot of loose blue metal down there on a lot of the log. So trying to clear the loose gravel, but going into stage one, I think it's quite important that we're on it straight away. Having done that stage in previous years, I think just trying to get into that rhythm straight away and push on and yeah, do set some good stage times in that morning loop is critical.
On Sunday, the Springfield South stage opens the second heat. I know it's very popular among competitors. Is that one that you're looking forward to driving again? And I guess generally, are you a fan of the Launceston stages?
Yeah, definitely Springfield South is an amazing stage. It's extremely fast, but it's got it's got a bit of everything. So um, yeah, it's an absolute joy to drive. We did that stage last year, and I absolutely loved it. Really, I love all the stages down in Launceston, and I think most drivers would struggle to dislike them. They're so smooth and flowing and fast. So I think it's a great event to start off the year, and I think it's even better to do it in March where we're not all freezing.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. Where and how do you gain more speed? It's a very open-ended question. I guess yourself and Harry are two different drivers, and from the outside, you drive the GR Yaris AP4 in a different way. Historically, your car's a bit straighter than Harry's, and I guess are you generating your speed in a different way?
Yeah, I would definitely say Harry's more aggressive.
Hmm.
Even at testing, let's say, where we're doing the same times on a road that we both know. You watch my in-car versus Harry's, where we're generating literally identical times. Harry just does it in a more aggressive manner than me. And yeah, I wouldn't say one's better than the other. I would just say it's different. Probably one thing I needed to work on over the past few years compared to Harry has been that little bit more aggressive on the first passive stages. He out of the gate, he's just that little bit more aggressive on the first couple of stages, and then it's hard to catch that time back up. So yeah, from the get go, I think I need to work on being that little bit more aggressive. But I don't think my style needs to change as such. I think my style works quite well for me, and maybe a few little changes here and there might help, but definitely nothing major. It's ultimately when I'm full of confidence and when it's all working, I think we have the pace to beat Harry. But I think yeah, basically when the conditions change or get challenging, he just keeps being that little bit more aggressive, and that's where I need to work on.
Yeah. The car setups are a little bit different as well, I would imagine, because of the different driving styles. You say there's a little bit more speed in you. Are you going to try and change something in the pre-event test to make the car better for you and for your driving style on those stages?
Our setups are very similar. So when we
Mhm.
started, the first year we built the GR Yaris's were a little bit different in setup, and I've progressively worked towards Harry's setup the more confidence I've gained. And this year we're probably the closest we've ever been in setup. So um, yeah, I think really that's probably the setup to have. So
Mhm.
I need to learn to work with that setup. And judging by the test 2 weeks ago, I was extremely confident from the first run with that setup, which is a positive. And yeah, going into Rally Launceston, I think the first loop of stages could be quite loose as we discussed. So yeah, the test on Thursday could be key to make a few little changes on those first runs to yeah, make the car work with that loose gravel.
And in between every event, you're a busy man. Once Launceston finishes, you'll be there re-preparing the GR Yaris's. Tell me a bit about that. It's a huge part of your day to day. What are some of the really important aspects to it? Are there certain things that really need attention on the cars between events?
Yeah, so it depends on event to event, I guess. After Coffs Harbour, my car, I pulled the engine out and just did a full check over and put a new clutch in it. But other than that, it was just the standard check over and replacing rod ends and sphericals and yeah, checking nothing had cracked or broken. As we know, Coffs Harbour was pretty rough and very hard on the cars. Yeah, so you just want to make sure that everything's as it should be and nothing's broken or cracking. So the preparation for my car was ready in that we more or less pull the engines out to every rally just to check everything, especially after that problem we had with Harry's car in South Australia. So I guess it keeps us busy. We've got several cars that we prepare, including customer cars, and definitely the off season. I've I haven't had much of a break, so um, I'm looking forward to the rally getting started. this week so I can officially become a driver for the week and just focus on Rally Launceston.
The failures last year on the cars meant that you were able to lifespan some items on the car a bit better. And because you're always developing them and learning with them, it's vitally important. Can you explain in layman's terms how you go about lifespanning particular parts in the car, particularly when they're all brand new? Because an R5 car or a Rally 2 car, all the work's been done, but you guys are trying to lifespan parts from the get-go.
Yeah, that's right. It's a difficult position to be in, and ultimately we'd love to do more testing, but time is a big thing where our business is extremely busy and probably understaffed at the moment. I guess it's like all the world. It's just how it is at the moment. So yeah, testing is at an absolute minimum, and it has been since we built the GR Yaris's. So as you said, lifespan for parts is a big unknown. In saying that, though, we've run the cars for 3 years, so we're starting to get on top of that and learn more and more. COVID definitely knocked us around a bit. We didn't do the miles that we wanted to do, and yeah, definitely the issues last year came down to lack of miles in the car and lack of knowledge on what part what part's doing what, and yeah, really when it's going to break. But this year, I think we're more or less on top of that, and yeah, basically we have a book for each car. We write down the kilometres it does, whether it be testing or competitive in a rally, and yeah, we log all of that and log when we put new parts in, so we know basically the part's life. So yeah, those few issues we had last year, we definitely learned from that, and yeah, hopefully won't happen again this year.
One of those was a tail shaft, yourself in Western Australia and Harry in Gippsland. I remember at the time, I think I was speaking to you and you said that it was a different cause, but I guess is that one of the parts that's, I guess, changed its lifespan, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. We have a closer look at the tail shafts now. My one was a bit of a weird one. It broke clean in the middle. So we're thinking it probably got hit by a rock at the test and fractured it or something, because it's unusual to see them break where it did. So Wes, yeah, we'd probably call that one in a million, whereas Harry's was more of a lifing. It broke on the end. So yeah, we definitely replace those ends more frequently now and have a closer look at them. So yeah, and then obviously the exhaust manifold on Harry's car was another lifing thing that just, yeah, we need to also keep on top of that.
It's all part of the learning process, I guess. And adding another car into the mix with the Luff brothers getting a GR Yaris, it'll bring some more work to you. Is the car going to come to Neil Bates Motorsport in between events, or are they going to prepare the car themselves?
Yeah, so it's exciting to have another GR Yaris in the championship, and yeah, what better pairing to go to the Luff brothers? They're starting to create a pretty big following,
Mhm.
and I think rightly so. They're going about it the right way, and they've got the speed and the talent. So it'll be very interesting to see how they go behind the wheel of the GR Yaris. So I'm really looking forward to see how they go. And lucky for them, we've done 3 years of development, so they should have a brand new car with no issues. Fingers crossed. And yeah, just be able to focus on the driving side and yeah, see how they go. But as far as preparation, they'll be taking care of that. So once the car's fully finished, which it will be as of today, we'll basically hand it over to them, and I'm sure we'll heavily assist them at the first few rallies or even in between rallies until they learn the car fully. But definitely the plan is for them to prepare the car in between rallies and take it to rallies themselves, because they've got a fair bit of knowledge and I think they know what they're doing. So yeah, we'll just assist where we can.
Apart from the Luffs, there's obviously a lot of crews that are going to be chasing your crown. Guys like Nathan Quinn, Troy Dow, Tom Clark, they're going to snap at your heels, as will your brother, of course, who we've chatted about before. Competition gets hotter every year, it seems. Where do you see it coming from this season? Is it from Nathan Quinn, perhaps, if he does a lot of rounds, or is someone like Troy Dow in the R5 car really going to jump up, do you think?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think this is been one of the most open championship round ones we've seen in a while. It's gonna be very interesting. I think obviously Nathan was very quick in Coffs Harbour, and I expect him to be very quick in Launceston. So I think he's going to be a tough one. We've got to be on it from the get go. He's obviously improved that G4 car throughout last year, and he got it to a speed which, in my opinion, was extremely impressive in Coffs Harbour, and he's obviously driving it very well. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to be easy to beat. And then you got the likes of Troy Dowell in the Skoda, who looked very fast at the pre-event test a couple of weeks ago. So, sorry, the pre-season test a couple of weeks ago. So, I think Troy's developing every rally as a driver, learning more and more. And I think last year was a learning year for him, and he wanted to finish each rally. And this year he wants to go for it and see how fast he can be. So I expect him to be very much on the pace. And then yeah, after that, I reckon there's a fair few dark horses that could be amongst that as well. Tom Clark's obviously coming back from his accident in Launceston last year. He had extremely good pace before that. In Launceston, him and I were trading stage times, and yeah, then we've got James Dimmick in our old Yaris, and yeah, the list sort of goes on. So I'm really looking forward to it. There's realistically 11 or 12 cars that are capable of being on the podium. So I think once the Rulos do a bit of a test in their car, and especially Alex, once he gets up to speed, he's obviously a very talented driver, and if he adapts to the car quickly, then yeah, I'm sure he'll be one to look out for as well.
That's right. I was going to ask about Alex. He's gone very quickly from an Evo 9 to a fully fledged program in that new Rally 2 car. While he might not be in line for a podium early in the year, he could well be there by the end. His time in supercars as a professional driver is going to hold him in good stead wherever he goes driving, whether it be in speedway, in rallying, whatever he chooses to do. So I guess his improvement is going to be so fast. Do you think it's going to be as fast, I guess, to make a podium later in the year?
Yeah, definitely. I think he'll be one to watch out for later in the year once he gets some seat time in that Hyundai. Like it's obviously a world class car, and I think he's going about it the right way. He's got Steve sitting next to him, who will be able to give him obviously amazing experience and guide him in the right direction. So I think as a driver, there's no arguing his talent. He's just got to learn the car and obviously learn pace notes, and it'll be yeah a big learning curve to start off with. But I think come the end of the year, he'll definitely be fighting for podiums.
Mm. Lastly, what do you see as a pass mark for Rally Launceston? It doesn't necessarily have to be a set result, but is there a particular thing that you want to feel with the car and get out of yourself and Anthony this weekend?
Yeah, I think I touched on earlier. Just out of the gate, I want to be on it. I want to set those times from stage one, and I think that's what Anthony and I are planning to do. It's obviously going to be different. We haven't really been there in dry conditions before, so we're not really 100% sure what to expect. But yeah, my aim is to just from stage one be on the pace and be fighting for that rally win. And yeah, that's definitely what Anthony and I are planning to do.
Great to hear. Thanks for your time, Lewis. Enjoy having number one on your door this year. It'll be good to see. Best of luck for the weekend, and yeah, look forward to following along closely. So thanks again.
Great. Thanks for having me, Luke. See you later.